Hello YouTube, Dave here again. Today I'm going to be giving you my thoughts on the ALIEN Role-Playing Game Colonial Marines Operations Manual. This was a book sent to me by Free League, the publishers of this book, for the purposes of this review. However, they're not influencing the video, they're not scripting it or pre-screening it, so the opinions that I express in this video are 100% completely and totally my own. If you want to see me do I'm not going to say a full flip through because I really don't want to spoil the adventure portion of this book, but if you want to see me do a more comprehensive flip through of at least the player character and like campaign setting information in this book, let me know, and I'll be more than happy to do that. But I just kind of want to get essentially right to the review because this book is fantastic. I don't really know what else to say. The ALIEN role-playing game is something that I've been really impressed with, the quality of writing, the production quality, the artwork, like just everything about this system has really blown me away. And we finally have our first major source book for campaign play. So everything that's been released to date has kind of revolved around the cinematic style of gameplay where they're, short, self-contained adventures where the scenarios basically have like the feel of the Alien movies where, it's going to be lethal, there's going to be personal agendas that can cause players to turn on one another, similar to how Ash and Burke and, Gallic? Yeah, Gallic did in Alien 3. So there's, that was sort of the focus of the early products, but we finally have something dedicated to the actual campaign play where the players get to make their own characters and go through stories that focus less on like the xenomorph. It's still there. It's a presence that is always going to loom over this franchise. But it's not like the sole focus of the campaigns. There's a lot more for them to do. And where there may still be encounters with, xenomorphs or creatures derived from the black goo pathogen, it's not going to be as prevalent, or it's going to be spread out over a longer period of time than the cinematic scenarios, which tend to be pretty intense. And with cinematic scenarios, you want to have your death scene pre-planned because you're going to get to it. I can assure you. So this is, like I said, a book dedicated to campaign play. The first thing that really surprised me when I first got this was just how large this book is. Like, this is a 352, 354 page book. I was expecting it to be, around maybe 200 pages, maybe a little less. I was really surprised by everything that they have in here. Again, I'm not going to go through like a comprehensive flip through here, but you have chapters about like the history of the Colonial Marines, detailed information about the organization itself, including other branches of the military, which I'll show my favorite one of for like silly and personal reasons. But then we also have like, information on making Marines, new gear and equipment, the different like the campaign or the Marine campaign. So this is sort of like the player character information goes up to like chapter 5, and then from 6 on is kind of mostly the game mother information. There's a lot of really great stuff in here. So we also have like the campaign setting information with the systems and different bases they can go to. There's the black projects, which are essentially like the stuff that Weyland-Yutani and other entities might be up to, as well as some important information to know for when we get into the campaign itself. You have information on the Frontier War, including sort of like an overview, the different things that the player characters can sort of do. And then you get into the actual campaign itself, which is divided into 7 missions, the first 6 of which can actually be played in any order, and I'll sort of get into that a little bit more a little bit later on. But yeah, like I said, there's all kinds of really great information in here, and I was surprised by the amount of like just player character information, of world building information that was included in here. I was expecting, a couple pages of history and then some, options for making Marines and then getting right into the campaign itself. So yeah, I was really surprised by that. It also gives you a little information on the origins of the term bug hunt that was used in the movie Alien. So again, there's all kinds of really cool stuff to have there. Let's get into, we have the other branches. Like, so this one of the things that I just really loved reading through here. You have things like the Allied Command, the, Outer Rim Defense Fleet, but you also have the Canadian Colonial Armed Forces. So the Colonial Marines are part of like the United Americas, and in the alien world, or in the alien universe, The United Americas is essentially like North and South America uniting into just like one large like super country, essentially. So you still have like the like Canada, United States, Mexico, and all the South American countries in there as well. But it's all sort of under one leadership at that point, and it's united against. Well, it's united. We'll say it's not united against necessarily the rest of the world, but it is like one of the major political forces in the Alien universe. There's also the Three World Empire, which is sort of like more like the Europeans, and not only just Europe, but you also have like a colony on the moon and some. I can't remember what the third one was, but it was also like within the solar system. I think it was on Titan. I could be wrong though, but you've got those, and then you have the Union of Progressive Peoples, which is essentially the main antagonist for the Colonial Marines, and they are essentially they're kind of like the space communists, I guess you could say. So it's made up primarily of like Russia and China, and then a few other countries sort of within their influence. And yeah, so they're sort of like they're the ones that are the second party in like the frontier war and the skirmishes, and the premise of this campaign actually heavily involves the conflict between the United Americas, the Colonial Marines, and the Union of Progressive Peoples. It's a lot of different things to sort of get through. Another big section that I was really impressed by was the options for creating new Marines. So in the core rulebook, you have your base class, which is sort of the traditional or stereotypical version of like the Colonial Marine character. But in this one, you actually have several different specialties. There's like 10 different specialties that you can choose from. And these specialties will also dictate what your key attribute is, what some of your major skills are that you can take, the ones that you can put the most points into, as well as the different talents that you can take. And there are some new talents in here as well that are unique to some of these specific backgrounds. So it's really cool to see you have like the armored vehicle specialists. So they, operate like UPCs, tanks, stuff along those lines. You've got the smart gunners like Drake and Vasquez. You've got the observer, which is sort of like your scout character. They can fight, but that's not their primary focus. So they actually have a talent they can take called Hug the Dirt, where on their turn, essentially as a free action, they could just drop to the ground and make it more difficult for them to be hit by gunfire. So I actually kind of like that. It's really cool. You have like the dropship crew, snipers, and you also have like your combat medic. And again, they all have different attributes, different talents, different skills. The chooses their primary skills. There's a lot of different, there's just a lot that you can do. So you can have like everyone in the party is playing Colonial Marine. However, they're all playing a different specialty, so they all have very different feels to them. And I was really, really, impressed by how different each of these options feel. We will sort of look, and reading through this book, I've kind of like thought about some of the different characters from the Aliens movie and how they might relate. So, for example, you have like obviously I mentioned before, Drake and Vasquez, the smart gunners, but you also have the where's it here? The Comtech Marine. And I think it was Hudson. I can't remember, but I want to say it was Hudson who ran like the bypass on the doors to get into Hadley's Hope in Aliens. And he like bringing up the schematics and stuff like that. So like, you've got that kind of character as well. And when you think of like key attributes of wit, and then you have talents like banter, for example. It really reminded me of Hudson from the movie. So I think it's just, again, really cool the way that they've done that. You also have like new equipment thrown in here as well, including some personalized gear for the different specialties. So each different specialty that you choose, you get to choose one that makes sense for your for the focus that you took within the Marine Corps. There's also new weapons, new armor. There's not a ton of new suits of armor, but there's still like half a dozen different types of body armor in this book that can be used to expand the options available in the core rulebook, and with other books in this series coming out for the different occupations, I guess you could say, from the core rulebook, like the roughneck, the scientist, the corporate agent, and stuff like that. I'd be really interested to see what other stuff that they throw in there. So the equipment that they include in this book, it all makes sense. You have stuff for the Colonial Marines, as well as some equipment that is more preferred by or used by the Union Progressive Peoples. Stuff that you're going to be encountering as you're going through the campaign itself. There's also new armored vehicles, new ships to use as well. There's just all kinds of really great stuff in here. It's just overall a very fantastic book. There are some quests. There are some missions you can go on. So these are very short missions that you can sort of do as introductory stuff to let the players get comfortable with who their characters are, what their function is on the team, and just some stuff to sort of build a little bit of notoriety for them before you get into the actual campaign itself. So instead of just saying, well, this was our backstory, or these are things that you've done before, you can let them actually do them. One of the things that I really like here is the civilian evacuation, and I'll talk a little bit more about why I would use this one when I go to run this particular campaign hopefully in the very near future. But yeah, this is one that I definitely sort of have my eyes on, and like I said, I'll talk a little bit more about that as we progress. So, like I said, I don't want to get too much into spoiler territory because the next stuff is sort of like the black projects, new creatures or new enemies that you can encounter, as well as the campaign itself. So, like I said, the campaign earlier, it is divided into 7 chapters. So the first 6 of which you can run in any order that you want. So I'm not going to spoil the actual progression of the story or some of the things that the players discover as they go through it, other than the fact that it is sort of a conflict between the Marines and the Union Progressive Peoples. And the Marines are sort of investigating the fact that the UPP is dabbling in biological weapons, biological warfare. And when I say biological weapons or bioweapons in the Alien universe, it probably is not going to take you 3 guesses to figure out what it is I'm referring to. So you sort of discover that they're doing that, and it all ties into and is sort of rooted in the events that actually took place in the Destroyer of Worlds cinematic scenario box set that came out in, I think it was 2020, last year, I guess, or earlier this year. I can't remember exactly. The time has just completely flown. I don't know when anything released anymore. But anyway, so that's actually one of the things that I was really also I was very happy to see that as well. So you have references to Fort Nebraska, which was the location from Destroyer of Worlds. You also have mentions of Project Life Force, which was sort of like the Black Ops or the off the books experiments that were taking place, or research that was taking place under Fort Nebraska. And again, it's the ALIEN Roleplaying Game. You don't really need too many guesses as to what that all revolves around, but it's all really interconnected, and that's sort of the thing that I like about it. Now, as you go through each of the 6 chapters to begin, before you get to the climactic encounter, or the climactic scenario, I should say, during each of those 6 other scenarios, at one point, the players are going to uncover. They're called epiphanies. You could call them story points, or they're basically just a point in the story where the players discover something that helps sort of guide them ultimately towards that final chapter. So they discover, like I said, the UPP and what they're doing, and where the UPP got their ideas from, and sort of maybe who could be, who's the good guy, who's the bad guy, sort of thing. There's some of that there. Like I said, I don't want to spoil too much. The overall stuff, like I said, the major stuff you might be able to take a pretty educated guess at, but I'm not going to spoil the exact epiphanies. But I do think it's a really cool system. The epiphanies are pretty easy to learn. Some of them are learned just through simple encounters that are going to happen as you go through. Some are from NPCs that the player characters will have lots of interaction with, or through documents or data files that these individuals may have as well. So they're easy to find. The players are going to find them. It's just a matter of when and where and how and in what order the scenarios that they go through are, in order to find all those missing pieces of the puzzle before they put it all together. Another important thing to note with the Colonial Marines campaign that's in here is there is a section basically saying to kind of forget about rank, because I know that the Marines are a military organization, but they don't want the player characters to just simply blindly follow orders. The idea behind it is that the players discover things that are going on, and then it's up to them to decide how they want to proceed. You sort of think about it in terms of like how Hicks, issued the order to nuke the site from orbit on Hadley's Hope in LV-426, even though that's not necessarily what like the company would have wanted, and it probably didn't necessarily align with what their orders were either when they were sent. So, the idea is that you're going to make your own decisions. So that is an important thing to note. Rank is important, sort of, but it's something that you don't want the players to feel trapped by. So definitely make that point very, very clear before they start, or just, let them decide how they want to act with the information that they have. Like the adventure structure, like I said, I love it. I love the non-linear sort of aspect to it. So you can go through, you can pick whatever one you want to start with the most as the game mother, and then the players, like what the players discover, the events that unfold may lead them to specific scenarios to follow up, or again, you may just decide which order you want to put them in. But it's just like, I like that structure. It means that different groups are going to have different, sequences of events that they can relate, and maybe different events that happen during each of those sort of scenarios. So overall, I really like that structure, and I think it's really well done. Now, my plan when I go to run this is to actually weave Destroyer of Worlds into it as, a way for the players to play not only their ready-made characters, the characters they make themselves, but I also want to integrate, like I said, the cinematic scenario in there with the pre-made characters from the box set. And sort of the way that I'd like to frame it is in Destroyer of Worlds, the players, the characters were all sort of cherry-picked from different squads of Marines, right? They weren't actually like one cohesive unit. They didn't have a lot of experience necessarily with each other. And that sort of set the stage for like the personal agendas and stuff like that unfolded over the course of that scenario. But that's why I mentioned the civilian evacuation, because right before the Destroyer of Worlds adventure starts, there were forces, civilian forces, being evacuated from the planet that the characters were on to start that scenario. So you could have the player characters, the ones that the players make themselves using this book, be people that are overseeing that evacuation and get off world right before it goes into lockdown to start the events of Destroyer of Worlds. And because the events that happen in Destroyer of Worlds are relevant to what's going on in the campaign with Project Life Force and Project Darkstar, that the players could discover. I would have the players discover like sealed documents, top secret files, things like that will let them actually piece together and find out what happened at Fort Nebraska, and then just have it take place in the form of a 1 or 2 session flashback, so to speak, where they get to just pick characters from the box set and play through Destroyer of Worlds, and then once they complete that scenario, transition back to the events taking place in the campaign. So that's how I plan on running it personally when the time comes. We'll see, hopefully that won't take too long to be able to do, but I'm really looking forward to getting the opportunity to do that. And I think the two go really well together. I was really happy to see, like I said, the fact that, the campaign in here does reference the events that took place in Destroyer of Worlds, meaning that, even though it's like a box set and cinematic scenarios are kind of supposed to be like standalone, I do like the fact that it feels like they are very much part of the same world. So it's not like it's just a reset button that's hit, or something like that, where I love the fact that they do feel interconnected. So overall, this is a really good book. I mean, I said it at the beginning, and I'm gonna say it again. There's a whole wealth of information here to fill you in the background of the Marines, their different conflicts and skirmishes they've been a part of. There's all kinds of missions. Short little things that the players can do before you get into the campaign itself, just to, again, help flesh out their background, and let them sort of build a sense of camaraderie, and let them go through a few things that are, lighter in tone or easier for them to get through before you start getting into the main story itself, which, like I said, is structured really well. There's like downtime activities and stuff that the players can do as well between missions before they get into that major like meat and potatoes of the campaign section. So overall, like I said, I really like the way that it's structured. Lots of great information. I also love the references and callbacks to the ALIEN franchise. For example, Project Darkstar. Darkstar, I want to say, was the Dan O'Bannon movie that he made in college with, who was it? I think it was with George Romero. I could be wrong though, but anyway, it was the movie that he made that was sort of the precursor to Alien, but it was the one where they had like the monster was essentially like a beach ball with feet and hands like glued to it. So it's like the low budget version of what would eventually, inspire the movie Alien. So I kind of love that. I also, the campaign itself starts on O'Bannon's world, which is, Dan O'Bannon was the original writer of the Alien script that became, or the script that eventually became Alien. And that original script had a tentative title of Star Beast, which is the name of the in-canon novel or story written by the survivor of the prison planet from Alien 3. So I just love all those sort of references and how they interconnect and interplay with each other. But if you want to try running a campaign style game for the ALIEN Roleplaying Game, then this is the book that I would recommend. And because this is a campaign book where you need to make characters yourself, the rule book from the starter set isn't going to be enough for you to do that. Now, that book will be enough for you to, when you're running the game, just to like be able to quick reference rules and stuff. But you really do need the core rule book in order to make use of the materials provided here. But the materials provided here, again, they're excellent. They have a Canadian branch of the military in here, so I have to love it from that perspective. And yeah, it's a thick book with lots of great information in there and an awesome story that really interconnects well with previously released scenarios from the ALIEN Roleplaying Game. So it creates that sense of cohesion between products, which I absolutely love. And it's the first of a series, so I can't wait to see the other books that come out focusing on the Roughnecks are the ones I really want to see, because Roughnecks were essentially what like the characters from the original Alien were, like the truckers in space kind of thing. So I'm really looking forward to when that one comes out. But overall, this is a series I'm very interested in. It's a very well written book. The campaign itself is going to give you plenty of hours of gameplay. And again, you can, as I mentioned, you can connect the cinematic adventure Destroyer of Worlds in there pretty easily as well. So there's a lot of stuff you can get out of this book, and I think it's well worth it. So definitely pick it up if you are into the ALIEN Role-Playing Game, especially if you want to get into designing your own adventures or running campaigns where the players can make their own characters and customize them and develop them as they sort of progress and gain other abilities and things along those lines. So absolutely 100% recommend it. It's a great book. You're not going to be disappointed. Let's just put it that way. So thanks again to Free League for sending this to me for the purposes of this review. This was a book that I was really anticipating, and it not only didn't disappoint, but it exceeded what my expectations were for it going in. So just amazing work from them. And let me know in the comments below if any of you have picked this book up already, or if you're planning on it. What are some of the characters you want to make with it? If you've been running the campaign, don't spoil the events that take place, but let me know what your thoughts are on the campaign as you're going. And did your group also play Destroyer of Worlds before transitioning into this, or are you like me and you want to try to blend the two together? So again, thank you guys very much for watching. I hope you enjoyed, and I will see you all next time. Take care.